Another Bendy and the ink machine theory? You betcha! Hey yo Prodigies, Charles here, and in this video I'll be sharing with you a Bendy and the ink machine theory. This one will give 3 reasons explaining why Henry may be dreaming. If you would like more horror game theories, remember to subscribe and tap that bell, as on top of the many theories I've already made, there will be more to come. And just before we begin, if you can't watch this video all the way through right now, remember to tap add to and select watch later to save your progress, or just do it for fun. Let's start with what we know. We know that Henry was invited by Joey Drew to return to the cartoon studio that he used to work at. We also know that since Henry left, Joey Drew had gone out of his way to install an ink machine in the studio. The ink machine causes ink to flow throughout the studio through pipes. And finally, at the end of chapter 1, Henry takes a heavy fall, and he gets knocked out when he enters the pentagram that ends the chapter. Got all those facts? Now let's bring it all together. Before we understand why Henry may be dreaming or hallucinating, we first need to understand why he went to the cartoon studio and a few consequences because of that. Joey Drew invited Henry to the cartoon studio because he had something to show him. As Henry moves through the studio, we find out that this thing would be the ink machine, as he says,
"So this is the ink machine, huh?"
This means that the ink machine wasn't around when Henry was working at the studio for 2 reasons. 1. Henry wouldn't talk about the ink machine as if he hadn't seen it before. And 2. Being an animator at the cartoon studio, he probably would have known how to operate the machine straight away. This will be important later in the video, so be sure to remember this. We know that Joey really wanted to install the ink machine and all of the pipes around the studio, and he did so. But we also know that the pipes that allowed the ink to flow around the studio were faulty. This is because in Wally Frank's audio recording, he complains about this very problem and says that,
"If one more of these pipes burst, I'm out of here."
We also hear mention of this in Sammy Lawrence's recordings in chapter 2. We also see evidence of ink flooding the studio when Bendy chases Henry, and this happens in both chapter 1 and chapter 2. Why is this important though? At the end of chapter 1, we see that Henry experiences a very big fall after being chased by Bendy. This is one of the first ways that Henry may have entered a dream state, as he may have gone unconscious after surviving the fall. Remember, this guy is somewhere around his 50s at the least, so it's no easy feat for an old body, unless he really worked out during his 30 years away from the studio. However, as we do not see the screen blackout when this happens, it's hard to say whether this is possible for sure. It just seems equally as unlikely that Henry would take a fall like that with no problems. The second way that Henry may have entered a dream state would be when he enters the pentagram at the end of chapter 1. This game is no stranger to supernatural phenomena, and considering that the event happens before our eyes and the screen actually blacks out this time, it appears to be a stronger case in support of Henry dreaming his way through the crazy events at the studio. Then we have the big one. Considering that all of the pipes around the studio are pumping tons of ink, the pipes themselves are faulty, and that there are ink splatters everywhere, there is a possibility that Henry is in a hallucinatory dream state due to overexposure to the ink. How would he have been exposed? As the pipes are faulty, ink may escape in both liquid and gaseous forms. In the liquid form, ink would probably just gush out, like in front of Sammy Lawrence's office. In a gas form, these would probably be due to solvents moving from the ink and spreading through the studio due to evaporation after sitting still in the pipes for a while. We know that in both cases, Henry would be heavily exposed to the chemicals, thus leading to the toxic reactions that would cause him to see all kinds of weird and wacky things, like bendy cutouts moving around. You might ask whether or not Henry should be used to this, as he used to work at the studio in the past. But remember what we said in the beginning of the video. The ink machine was probably not installed at that time, as well as the pipes connecting to it, and so Henry would not have had such a large exposure to so much ink. Even if Henry would spend hours at his desk drawing Bendy with the same kind of ink, it would not be enough to cause him to go loopy. Consider the difference between using a fountain pen and the amount of ink that would be flowing through those huge pipes. It's quite significant. Also, because he wasn't around when the ink machine was installed, he wouldn't be familiar with any safety measures associated with using or being around the machine, or even how to use the machine at all, so he would go through the game as if all of the strange things happening around him were normal. What do you think? Remember to subscribe and tap that bell for more interesting horror game theories and secrets. If you love horror game theories, be sure to check the description for a link to all of the theories and secrets and prodigies. I really hope that these series help you to expand on how you think, so it can help you with how you go about your thinking in your daily lives. See ya!